It took me a while to film this vlog because a lot has happened since the last one, but I'm gonna start with the bottom line and the most important. I am back in Israel. Today is Thursday. I landed on Friday, so it's been a week since I'm in Israel, halfway through my isolation, trying to kind of digest. Since the start of the year, a lot has happened, especially the last 4 months, even more the last 2 months with trying to get this flight happening. I kind of knew that the moment that I will leave the jungle and I will go to Panama City, things will start moving, but I didn't know how fast. I was trying to check about a flight with KLM that was supposed to leave on the 16th and would have gone to Holland, and then from Holland to take us back to Israel. Then came a cargo flight that was waiting to hear about for 2 months, which was a flight with El Al, which is an Israeli company. The reason that I was waiting to hear about that flight, because usually a flight like that during this time will cost more because it will come empty. I'm from Israel to Panama empty, and then will take us from Panama to Israel, Houston. So it means that instead of it coming back empty from Houston, it will go through Panama and took us from Panama to Israel straight line. It was the first time that a plane went from Panama to Israel direct with an Israeli company, so that's quite cool. The journey to get it. So there was a woman, a producer that was supposed to help me to book the flight, and she did. She wasn't just supposed to, she did. But during this negotiation, at some point, she became someone that I needed to negotiate with rather than her negotiating on our behalf. And I connected her to another guy that is one of the founders of Midburn, which is an extension of Burning Man in Israel. Midburn connected her with a guy called Yoel Marshek. He was part of a movement that has founded Israel. He has a charity, and the charity basically helped us to pay for the deposit and the first payment. What was the original price that I was aiming for? She told me I will get that, the $850 top. Like, I asked her a few times, for sure. When I first started the conversations with her, she told me, yeah, by the end of next week you guys will be in Israel. And then that didn't happen. The transparency went out of the window, and every time I needed to see what's going on, and things became a bit weird. But still, I'm appreciative for all her help in this operation. I don't know how to call it. I didn't want again to tell something to the group and put people's hopes up without actually having things for sure happening. A day after she told me a different price, a higher price, she told me that she's sitting with them in a meeting and the price will be $960. And I wrote the price because she said that it's for sure. A day after, she's sending me a contract that is $200 more, so it's $1,150. I know that during Corona times flights are more expensive, and I know that it sounds okay from $850 to $1,150. It's only $300 difference, but some of the people on the group were families of 6 and families of 8, and it means a difference of $2,400. It's not just $300. It's a big gap. I negotiated it with her before I sent the contract, and eventually got the price of at least the youth under 18 and pensioners to be lower. At the same time, someone connected between me and the girl that did the same thing that I did, but in Peru. And she got their flight through this foundation that helps people to move to Israel or move back to Israel. Because Israel was founded after World War II and everything that happened in the Holocaust, there's a rule in Israel that is basically above all rules, that is called Chok HaShvut, which is the rule of return. So every Jewish person around the world that will ever want to move to Israel, they need to go through a process and all the papers. Once they do that, they can just move to Israel, because the country was founded as a shelter to Jewish people wherever they are if they needed it. The guys from Peru had a different flights than ours. They had their flight about a week before ours, after about a week of delays that they had because of rules and all that. I also got contacted by a mother of an Israeli girl that was stuck in Colombia, and she was part of a WhatsApp group that was organized by a girl that did basically the same thing as I did in Colombia. Her name is Dana, and I fell in love with that girl. She's amazing, and she's a former lawyer. With her and the consul of Costa Rica that I was in touch with since the start of this operation, which is basically for 2 months, we kind of created this operation unit with 4 different spots. So me in Panama, that I had a huge help from the Jewish community in there. So the Jewish community in Panama they're amazing. I've lived in a lot of places in the world, and I haven't seen something that strong. Whether it's what I told you about them helping me with doing the ceremony after my father died, helping with food for people that are stuck without money, and not just the Jewish people. They provide also food for local people in Panama that are in a charitable situation. One of the charities that they put me in contact with is called Matan Baseter, which is giving secretly, providing secretly, and they helped with funding basically tickets that had money issues and couldn't pay for the whole 1,150 for their ticket. They helped with booking the charters from Costa Rica and Colombia. We had 2 charters coming from Costa Rica with 13 Israelis that were stuck in there, and another airplane coming from Colombia that was, I think they had 30 people on it. They were not allowed to get into the airport because it's Corona times, so the permit only allowed them to land the charters in Panama airport at 4 a.m. and then from their airplane to come to the main airplane. And to get those permits was a nightmare, because, well, you can't book the airplane without the permits, but then you can ask for the permits without having the airplane and details about the airplane, and it was just like a catch-22, and all the time trying to talk to people to help us with that. I think with all this bureaucracy, people forget that there are humans involved and humans' emotions, and people just want to get back to their family, to get back to their homes. The charity from Israel paid the deposit and the first payment, and they were the one that were in contract in front of El Al. El Al for a long time lost a lot of money because a lot of people wanted to book, and they said that they had 200, 300 people that are interested in coming, and eventually only 80 people booked. So they only provide flights as a whole airplane. We needed to pay for the airplane as an airplane, so the charity in Israel helped to pay for that, and they had the contract in front of them. The people that wanted to go on the flight needed to do a bank transfer to the charity in Israel. The problem is that a lot of the people that I had on my list were Israeli that lived in Panama for a while. Also, some of them were quite fearful, which I can understand, in regards to transfer money to a bank account and with the promise of a flight, and it's like, well, what is this charity? Who are they? How do we know that it's real? And I can completely understand that. So they wanted to pay with a credit card to know that they have like some sort of guarantee. The charity in Panama provided a way for them to pay with a credit card to the charity in Panama and then transfer the money from the charity in Panama to the charity in Israel. And eventually got the airplane, people started booking because suddenly there was a flight. I got more and more new people adding to my list and want to be on the airplane. Even now, when I'm back in Israel, I still have people that are contacting me and asking me about the flight. And I'm like, well, guys, you're like a bit late. Just a couple of days before we left, another guy opened up a WhatsApp group, and again, he's trying to organize a flight. A couple of the people asked me to help with it, and I said that I will be happy to advise, but a part of me wouldn't advise to do it the same way that I did, because there was a lot of politics involved in it, which is a bit sad and weird. And I think in general, currently in Corona times, a lot of things just became politics. There's no longer countries that think about the good of their people or the fact of actually trying to help with the situation that people are stuck in places outside of the country, or that people are stuck without a job, or people who have their kids around the house and need to also work. And it just became propaganda of countries and how to control, I don't know. It's just a very weird time, and I was kind of left with a bitter taste from organizing that flight. A lot has happened every day, and I hardly slept. And I'm very grateful to had Amir, which was the photographer from the festival that was with me, because during this chaotic time, him and Kobe, one of the Israeli guys that was in Salina, both of them kept bringing me food and coffee and whatever, while I didn't leave my room and hardly slept, just to try to organize this flight. I hope Mike and Dana had people like that helping them in there. I'm trying to tell you guys and to organize it in my head, but it's just a lot of chaos, and something happened after something happened after something. A lot to take, and I'm pretty sure that you can sense it with the way that this vlog went. People that couldn't leave because they didn't make it on time. A girl contacted me from Nepal that they're stuck in there and they want to go back to Israel. I think there's a group still stuck in the Philippines. I don't know what's going on with them now. I think that's it from me for now. That's me, isolation, quarantine in Israel, and yeah. See you on the next vlog. Bye.